Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, when one door closes, another one opens. Other than that, it was a pretty good car. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 50 World War II games of all time. Today, we are taking a look at my numbers 30 through 21. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. All right, ladies and gentlemen, super excited to continue on with my list here. Once again, these are not all war games. They are not all hex and counter games. If those are the only kinds of things you like, maybe this list isn't for you. Again, in the past, I've had a lot of nasty comments from people who get mad that I don't like the games that they like. If it's not for you, move along, but take your negativity with you. Otherwise, stick around. We're going to have some fun talking about some great games. All right, ladies and gentlemen, starting off, number 30 is Keep 'em Rolling, Race to the Rhine. This is from Phalanx Games. There was an original Race to the Rhine that came out several years ago. This is a new edition. Now, earlier on the list, I mentioned Race to Moscow 1941. This is Keep 'em Rolling, Race to the Rhine 1944. This is in the same series of games. Here, you take on the roles of, Patton, Bradley, Montgomery, or Devers if you play a four-player game, as you are advancing through France into Germany. But this is not really a war game. It is a war game in disguise. It's really a Euro game in disguise, rather. And it's all about logistics. It's all about keeping your army supplied, keeping the trucks moving to the front filled with supplies. Because as you approach an enemy, you draw a card, you see what it takes to defeat that enemy, that what ammo, oil, etc. And then you've got to spend that in order to advance. But then you've got to bring more ammo and weapons up and food up in order to keep everything moving here. So it's a great game of logistics and supply. It's a game that really emphasizes that aspect of warfare, which is really cool in a very fun and interesting way, and like I say, kind of a Euro-y way. But this is Keep 'em Rolling, Race to the Rhine, 1944. That is my number 30, and that is from Phalanx Games. My number 29 is Tarawa, 1943. This is from Worthington Publishing. This is a great solitaire game about the battle on the Tarawa Atoll in 1943. Essentially, you've got Marine units, block units that are advancing on the island, and you have to pay very specific attention to their kind of avenues of advance. There's specific arrows about where they can advance. You can go ahead. You can, of course, take your actions, roll to try to get it. You're also drawing cards. You're drawing cards for the enemy and their counterattacks and how they're counterattacking you. It is a tough game. I am going to be blunt with you. I played this game many times. I have never won. Oh, I've come close, but I have not won this game. It is brutal. I'm hoping one day I will be able to. But this is Tarawa 1943. That is my number 29, and that is from Worthington Publishing. My number 28 is Struggle for Europe, 1939 to 1945. This is a really interesting game. It's from Worthington Publishing, and it is a deck destruction game. It's not unlike a game that came out earlier called Lincoln. But essentially, you are drawing cards, and in order to play cards, you have to permanently eliminate some cards from your hand. It's a very simple game. It's a very simple concept, very simple avenues of advance in this game, and yet there is a lot of strategy. There's a lot of thinking. It's a really deep thinking game here. Plays in about 2 hours. I've won as both the Allies and the Axis. I've lost as both the Allies and the Axis in this game, but it is tremendous fun. It's a very unusual kind of war game. It's a very unusual kind of card game, but it's like I say, a lot of fun and very, very unique for what it does. So that is Struggle for Europe, 1939, 1945. That is my number 28, and that is from Worthington Publishing. My number 27 is the first of a series, or one of a series, I should say, and we may see some more of this series in this list. My number 27 is Undaunted North Africa. Undaunted North Africa, of course, is part of the Undaunted series. It is a deck-building game but it is also a squad level war game. And how you get cards and how you play cards determine how you move, how you attack, how you take control of certain regions, and a lot of other actions that you can do on the board. Now, as I say, this one takes place in Africa. It has vehicles. You can actually have vehicles on the board and move around. It's North Africa, primarily between the British and the Italians in 1940. This is, as a system, this is just a great game, and this is a wonderful, wonderful aspect of that game as well. Another David Thompson design, along with Trevor Benjamin. That is number 27, Undaunted North Africa. That is from Osprey Games. My number 26 was it's a hex encounter game, and it was, I think, the first, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first Battle of the Bulge hex encounter game I ever played. And this is Paul Koenig's The Bulge 6th Panzer Army. Again, Victory Point Games. This was, I remember this kind of blew me away when I played it because I thought the map was so well done. I liked the kind of avenues of advance. I liked the fact that, the Americans could blow bridges to slow down the Germans. I liked the way you were kind of finding your factors there for attack and defense. It was really fun, and like I say, it really struck me because I'd played I think Axis and Allies Battle of the Bulge before, but I'd never played a hex encounter Battle of the Bulge game, and it just really stuck with me. Again, it was a tiny game. It was just a little game. It had a little kind of puzzle game board you'd put together, and again, this is one that somewhere along the way I gave away, and I wish I hadn't. I really, really enjoyed that game. Wish I had it back. So that is Paul Koenig's The Bulge 6th Panzer Army. That is my number 26, and that was from Victory Point Games. My number 25 is a very unusual game. I think I just played it earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken. Very unusual. This is Dutch Resistance Orange Shell Overcome from Liberation Games, I believe. And Dutch Resistance Orange Shell Overcome is, of course, you are members. It's a cooperative game where you are members of the Dutch Resistance. And of course, the Germans are occupying the country, and you kind of have to evade the Germans. You have to evade the police. And you go to different locations, and different locations give you items. There's different actions you can take at the locations. But also critically, too, while you're there, you kind of lower the safety value of those locations and make it more likely for the Germans to find you and cause problems. What's really cool here, too, is as you move through city streets and you pass through policemen and Germans, there are these kind of situation cards. I can't remember what they're called, but they're event cards or whatever that you read, and they give you choices of like how do you get through this checkpoint, and it's really a lot of fun. Very thematic, very immersive, and very scary. It's a tough game. Again, this is one I have not won, but I hope to. I played it a few times. I hope to win this one at some point. I come very close, but not quite. So that is number 25, Dutch Resistance, Orange Shell Overcome, and that is from Liberation Games. My number 24 is another one that is designed by David Thompson. This is a solitaire game from DVG Games. This is Castle Itter. Castle Itter, great solitaire game. At the end of World War II, you actually had some American units fighting alongside Wehrmacht units, as well as French prisoners and Austrian resistor against an attack from an SS unit. And this is a true story, and it's a very fun game as you're trying to position your units. It's kind of like a States of Siege game as the Germans are coming up along various tracks, and you're trying to keep them back, and you can try to do suppressive fire. You can try to eliminate the units, and you're trying to wait until you get to a card draw where American reinforcements finally arrive. This was the first of the Valiant Defense games that I played. Has a special place in my heart. Enjoy it quite a bit. So that is Castle Itter. That is from DVG Games. That is my number 24. My number 23, also from DVG, also David Thompson, also Valiant Defense. This is Pavlov's House. This is during the Battle of Stalingrad. You actually had defenders in a house that are trying to protect the house from the advancing Germans. A year or so ago, I was teaching at Western Wyoming in Wyoming, and we actually got Dave Thompson to come out and speak to us about the development of this game. And it was really cool because he said, the myth was always you just had this dozen or so men holding out in this house for an extended period of time. But in fact, he shows just the logistical systems that were set up to keep those men fighting, keeping them fed, keeping them supplied, keeping communications going, artillery support, anti-aircraft support. So it's really, really interesting to see how he integrates all of that stuff into the game in this compelling solitaire game where you're trying desperately as the Soviets to hold on to the house. So that is number 22, Pavlov's House from DVG Games. And finally, in that series, number 22 is Lanzerath Ridge from DVG, another Dave Thompson Valiant Defense design. In this one, in Lanzerath Ridge, you are the Americans during the Battle of the Bulge trying to hold a position, a handful of Americans trying to hold a position from like a German division that is trying to steamroll them. And you're kind of at a tree line across a valley, and the Germans are trying to move toward you. And of course, you're trying to get artillery support. You're trying to, move machine guns around to where they're most effective. It's really a fun game. I was actually just here a couple of months ago. I was in New Orleans at the World War II Museum for a seminar, and they had, I was walking through there in the Battle of the Bulge section of the museum. They actually got some of the stories of Lanzerath Ridge there, and it was really cool. Of course, a game like this really fleshes out your knowledge of the geography and of the stakes. And they actually have soldiers with their actual names in this game. So really enjoyed Lanzerath Ridge. My favorite of the Valiant Defense series. This is number 22. That is from DVG Games. Okay, my number 21. This is a fairly light war game. And I'm not a fan usually of deterministic combat, but this game has deterministic combat. This is Fighters of the Pacific from, it was distributed through Ares Games. I want to say Orbit Games. I can't remember the publisher off the top of my head. But this is Fighters of the Pacific. And this is a great game where you are, of course, either the Japanese or the Americans. The map is hexes, and you've got your planes. Now, your planes, they've either got a white background or a blue background. If it's white, they're at high elevation. If it's blue, they're at low elevation. And you can only kind of attack people at your elevation. But what's cool here is you're trying to keep formation. And the fewer formations there are, that means the more initiative you have in the game. And if someone attacks you and you haven't gone yet, then you can like try to move, but you'll break formation. Anyway, it's really fun, really interesting, really innovative. They can add ships and islands and different targets and missions. So it's really a lot of fun. And even though I don't normally like deterministic combat, no dice, no cards, it's just if you're in line of sight, you're shot. I like this one. I thought it worked very well. Big fan. So that is Fighters of the Pacific, my number 21. Again, distributed through Ares. I'm not quite sure who the publisher was off the top of my head. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tell me, what do you think? Do you like these games on my list? What games would you put at this ranking in your own personal World War II top 50 list? I'd be eager to hear that. As always, please like us on Facebook, on Twitter, all that good stuff. Please leave a thumb for us here on YouTube. Please leave a thumb for us on Board Game Geek. We really appreciate that. Also, too, I have another channel, Cody Carlson, PhD, where I talk about military history and books on history. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel as well. And if you do like the kind of content we bring to you here on The Discriminating Gamer, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. I asked an electrician to fix an electrical issue in my house. He refused. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where